Hello friends, welcome back to another Tumbler tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I made this hand-painted pumpkins tumbler. I really love how this turned out and I'm so excited about it. This is inspired by one of my good friend Ashley's tumblers. She made this cup for me with the hand-painted pumpkins on it, and I fell in love with it and asked her if I could use her cup as inspiration in my YouTube video, and she said yes. So this is going to be my version of really her design. She's the one who inspired me to create this cup. So thank you, Ashley. I really hope you guys enjoy this video. As always, I'll have all the good info down in the description box for you. And if you like the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Okay, let's go. We'll be using a 20-ounce stubby tumbler from Craft Haven for this design. I really love this cup style. I don't use them often enough, but I need to. So I'm going to prep my cup and then I'm going to get right into my custom glitter mix that we're going to use for the base for this design. The main color we're going to use is Boujee from PDB. And then we'll add in some more whites, some greens, and some golds to really make this a really dimensional fall mix. So starting with Athena from Peachy Olive Glitters, and then Cleopatra, also from Peachy Olive Glitters. Next we'll go in with Hypnotic from PDB, and then Jawbreaker, also from PDB. The amounts I'm putting into this mix are on the screen. So I just added Cartier, and then Blondie, now Alexandrite, and this is Lamb's Ear, and then finally we have Seal. So the brands and links and everything will all be listed down below in the description box if you want the exact mix, but there's what the mix looks like. And now I just base painted my cup using vintage blush from Rust-Oleum. Your base color really doesn't matter. This is such a nice mix with such full coverage. You can go with white, you could do black, green, gold, whatever base you have. I had this paint out and that's what I decided to use. I'm applying my glitter using the epoxy method, so I put about 3 to 5 milliliters of epoxy on my cup and then applied my glitter. And once that epoxy cured, I was ready to seal my glitter, so I wrapped my cup up, as you can see here, in a piece of scrapbook paper to flatten the glitter out. You can also use parchment paper, wax paper, whatever you have. You just want to get that glitter lying as flat as possible so you don't have all these pokey bits that you have to deal with later when you epoxy. And then I'm going to seal my glitter using the glitter glue from the Crystal Art Company. You can use Mod Podge or whatever you like. I just think the glitter glue seals it the best, in my opinion. So once that's dry, you have to wait at least 2 hours for that to dry. I'm going to go in with my first 2 coats of epoxy here. So I'm going to do about 20 to 25 milliliters per coat. And then our cup should be pretty smooth and ready for our detailing. So the first thing I'm going to add is this decal from By Firefly. This is a decal I picked up at TumblerCon. I'm pretty sure it's available on the website now. I'll have it linked below if it is, but it's a little stack of pumpkins. It says Fall Junkie, which really just kind of speaks to my soul. So I applied that to my cup just like a sticker, and now I grabbed some pop of color paints to paint the base for our hand-painted pumpkins. So I'm taking Woods at Night, Jade, Terracotta, Pear, and Lamb's Wool. I kind of picked this neutral, almost bohemian pale color palette, and I wanted to match somewhat the colors that are in the decal. So now I'm going to show you kind of how I paint these pumpkins. We'll just do it on a sheet of paper before we get onto the cup. So to paint your pumpkins, you really just want to take like kind of a fluffy brush, and then you'll paint a C shape and a backward C shape, and just kind of go back and forth. You can do these short and fat, how this one is. You can go a little bit taller if you stretch your C shapes out. Just make sure that this is really rustic. This base painting step is you can go kind of messy. You don't have to be perfect because we are going to paint pen outline everything later. So don't worry about your details being too detailed. So I'm going to go on my tumbler now. I'm going to take some of this paint. This is Woods at Night. And you can see I'm just doing those C shapes, just bringing them in. You're basically just creating parentheses and bringing them closer and closer together as you go, and then filling in all of that space. So you want to have like a little indent on the top and then a little indent on the bottom. But basically you're just kind of creating blobs here. You can go in with your paint pens later and add all kinds of detail. So I'm going to make a few more pumpkin shapes using this Woods at Night color, and then I'm actually going to jump in and start to do my vine work. And I'm using one of the greens for this. I ended up using both greens for vines just to add a little bit of different dimension. And if you don't have pop of color paints, you can use acrylic paint. Whatever you have is totally fine. I have all these pop of color paints that I rarely use, but I really like them, so I decided I was just going to put them to work for this design. So to create my vines here, I'm using a small little detailing paintbrush, and I'm kind of creating the like loopy kind of whimsical shapes. When I was drawing these or painting these, I was thinking about the pumpkins in the scene in Cinderella where the pumpkin becomes the carriage. And I was picturing those pumpkins and I was picturing the leaves and like that kind of art style. So that's what I'm trying to create here. I'm just trying to create like really kind of loopy, twirly, whimsical vines. Now remember, you don't need to be perfect here. You can kind of just be, you know, a little bit loose with your brush. Don't try to make anything too pristine. The whole point of this is that it's whimsical, a little bit rustic, and you can go in afterwards with your paint pens and really add the details of your leaves or whatever else you want to add. So at the end of my vines, I am painting some leaves. I'm trying to mimic again that art style from Cinderella with the like really, you know, kind of pointy, big vine leaves. I don't really know how to describe them, but hopefully you can see what I mean here. I'm just trying to add as much of this as possible, really give this like the pumpkins on a vine type vibe. So I'm just going to continue with this green, and then once I've got some vines down, I'll go back in with my pumpkin brush, paint a few more pumpkin shapes. I'm using terracotta here. I'm going to layer some pumpkins up. One good thing about the pop of color paints is that they dry fairly quickly, so you can start layering, you know, after just a couple minutes. You don't really have to wait very long. Some of the colors I did a second coat, like with lamb's wool, I did do a second coat on those pumpkins. And once I had my pumpkin shapes down, I went back in with the green, added some stems to my pumpkins, and then went back in with pear. This green is pear. The other green is called jade. And I'm going to go in and add a few more vines. I'm going to do some vines on the bottom and just really fill up all of the space that I feel like I want to fill here, and just kind of paint until I'm satisfied with how it looks. I'm going to set it aside, let it dry about an hour, and then I'm going to go in with a coat of epoxy over the paint. You don't need to seal your paints or anything like that, just make sure they're fully dry, and then you can go in with a coat of epoxy to seal everything in at that point. For this coat, I'm using about 15 milliliters of KS Resin Liquidy Split Ultra UV epoxy. It's a fast setting epoxy, so I only had to wait about 2 to 3 hours before I was ready to go in with my paint pens and start to add my detailing on my painting. I initially had planned on using a bunch of different paint pen colors to add my detailing, but once I started in with my white, this is a Posca white paint pen, I was like really loving how the white just kind of popped off of the cup, really added this cool feel to it. So I just decided I was going to go all in with the white and just make all of my paint detailing the same color. You could totally do different colors if you want. I'm sure that would look really cool too. Remember, you can make these however you want to. There are no rules when it comes to this hand painted style. So as you can see here, I'm starting with my vines and I'm just going in and kind of outlining my shapes. I'm being, again, really kind of rustic with this, but that's the style I like. If you want to be a little bit more pristine or like, you know, clean with your lines, you totally can with the paint pens. It makes it really easy to do that. But I kind of like the rough, like sketch work kind of vibe with these. So I'm going over my lines a few times. I'm letting my lines overlap and just being really kind of rustic with my shapes. So once I'm done with all of my vines, I'm going to move into my pumpkins, and you can see I'm doing that kind of parentheses shape again, and then I'm just bringing those in to add a little bit of detail to the pumpkins. I'm going to go over this a few times just to create that rustic look, and then I'm going to repeat that same process with the rest of my pumpkins. So I'm outlining here, and then I'm going to go in with a little C shape, another C shape, just keep bringing those in that way until it looks like a pumpkin. So I'm going to do that with all of my shapes here. You can go over your lines as much as you want, add as much detail as you want with these. Remember, have fun, be rustic with it, and if you're not an artist, or if you don't think you're an artist, you are. You can totally do this style. It's really not as hard as it appears to be, okay? So just try it, have fun with the process, and remember, if you don't like what you draw, you can always just remove it with rubbing alcohol. So no big deal. Okay, I'm going to continue outlining these pumpkins and then we'll be back for our next steps. Once I had all of my outlines finished, I went in with a really thick Posca paint pen. This is white again. I'm just going to add a few random dots all over the cup just to really up that whimsical factor, just in a few random places. And then I'm going to let that dry for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I'll go in with my final 2 coats of epoxy. So here is the cup all finished. I am going to have to keep this one for myself. I had a feeling that I would have to keep it as I was making it. But anyway, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it inspires you to create something of your very own. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye.